Yes, it's John G. Sutton. Tales from the Jail. I see a report today, if you look in the press, about a certain charming young gentleman from around the Bolton area in Lancashire. Well, what was the Lancashire, Greater Manchester now. And he has just managed to get himself an extra 9 months in prison. You see, he was in Hindley YP Centre. I believe it's a YP Centre now. That's young prisoners, yeah? And he had some disagreement with a couple of members of the staff, a certain female prison officer, and in retaliation for being disciplined, he got a bottle that you usually have shampoo in and filled it full of his own urine. And when the two prison officers went to see him at around about 7 o'clock in the evening to see if he needed any water to bide him through the night, he squirted the urine all over the two prison officers. They called it a foul protest. Foul protest, we'll discuss them during this little broadcast on Tales from the Jails, which I'm sure you subscribe to, am I right? Anyway, he emptied this bottle over the two members of staff and managed to get himself arrested and charged with a criminal offence. And he was found guilty at Bolton Crown Court of administering a noxious substance. And the judge was called Martin Walsh, by the way. Judge Martin Walsh sentenced him to a further 9 months, which he will begin to serve directly after he's finished serving his 8-month sentence. And this little charmer, his name's Kyle Binns. Yeah, he's a bin job, in other words. He's already been convicted of 58 offences and he's still just a young prisoner. So he will be under the age of 21, but he's already managed to amass 58 convictions. That's a disgrace, isn't it? Now, people say, well, why don't the prison system rehabilitate young offenders? Aren't designed to rehabilitate anybody. I've said this before. Prison, as we know it, will never rehabilitate anyone. We have to take the kind of system that they have in Sweden or Denmark, yeah, or the Netherlands, where they actually enter into a social program where they're taught how to operate in society, how to survive in society. See, a lot of these young wastrels like Binns will come from possibly mainly dysfunctional families, yeah, where the father's been in prison, the dad's been in prison, the uncle's in prison, the grandfather's been in prison, the mother's been in prison, and it's a rite of passage, yeah. I mean, there are unfortunate people, and as I said before, prison is very often used to control the working class. And I have seen people end up with prison sentences when they're actually perfectly innocent. I know one young man who his friend came, knocked on his door, said, "Hey, coming out, we're going to Manchester." You know, I think he was in Bolton, somewhere like that. And he went out and he got in his car and off they went to Manchester. They got stopped by the police. The car was stolen. And this poor lad, who had nothing, didn't know, thought it was his friend in this car. And that's all he knew. And he got, for allowing himself, got arrested and charged with allowing himself to be carried in a stolen vehicle. And I believe he got 3 months or something like that. I mean, imagine that. He hadn't done anything. But that's the system. That'll teach you, yeah? You go away and tell everybody else so the working classes know that you're going to do it. You're going to get locked up. Talking about foul protests. The thing was in in the H blocks in Ireland, they used to have what's known as the dirty protest, where they'd get excrement and smear it all over themselves and smear it all over the walls. They used to draw little patterns on it, you know, like palm trees made out of excrement, yeah? Little portraits of nature made out of shit. And the idea was that they cover themselves in this excrement so that the staff wouldn't go in and get hold of them. Because if they got hold of them, then they get themselves covered in crap as well. We had it at Strangeways. One young man down the hospital wing actually decided he was going to do that. So they had to get staff in like white overalls to go in, you know, with gloves on, and deal with him appropriately, as gently as possible. Yeah. I seem to remember him screaming something about his head being rammed into the wall. Something like that. I can't imagine how that would happen. Can you? But dirty protests tend to have dirty outcomes, especially if you try them on at Strangeways. Yeah. The scrubs, the worst I saw was people cutting themselves deliberately, and you get blood spurting at you. You know, people lacerating wounds on them, so you get covered in the blood. Of course, if people were infected with things like hepatitis and stuff like that, and various other horrible diseases that some people have, then you've got to immediately get yourself medicated, get yourself tested. It's a danger that prison officers face when they're dealing with inmates. By the way, do you like my hat? Yeah, this is my Merlin outfit. Yeah, I've got my Merlin outfit here. This is it. Yeah, yeah, you can see. I can see your future is looking dim. It is looking dim, folks, because I am about to sing. Now listen, there have been people making objections about my voice, saying that that they don't actually care too much for my singing. Somebody even offered to make a donation to a charity if I would stop. Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to stop because you deserve it. And now I'm going to sing for you. Well, it's not really singing, is it? Let's face it. I'm now going to do I Talk to the Trees. Well, I'm going to have a go at it anyway. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then John will begin. I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. I talk to the stars, but they never hear me. The breeze hasn't time to stop and hear what I say. I talk to them all in vain. But suddenly my words reach someone else's ears, touch someone else's heartstrings too. I tell you my dreams, and while you're listening to me, I suddenly see them come true. Oh, I can see us on an April night, sipping brandy neath the stars, reading poems in the candlelight, to the strumming of guitars. I'll tell you all the books that I've read, and the way I met the King of France. I'll send the servants off to bed, and I'll ask you for a dance. But suddenly my words reach someone else's ears, touch someone else's heartstrings too. I tell you my dreams, and while you're listening to me, I suddenly see them come true. How about that then? Tales from the Jails, John G. Sutton. Do subscribe, it's down here somewhere. Thank you very much.